Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to part 49 of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, and we've got 7 more parts left to go before we finally finish off Phoenix Wright, starting with this part. And after all the lies, deceit, cover-up, and pretty much all the shenanigans caused by Lana and Damon Gant, it is time for us to finally unravel some truths within most, if not all, of these contradictions. And let's be honest, it's these last 3 trials is where Damon Gant truly shines, not just as a character, but as a villain, because for the most part, he's been in and out, popping up, and sometimes showing stoicism and also showing jovialism. But he will truly shine in the last 3 parts. Quite frankly, you will know that this guy is truly a dastardly villain. Although he's not on the level of On Karma, still he is very entertaining. Except there's just one problem. The only time we get to see him, he's actually a really good villain. It's just the fact that we don't see enough of him. We only see maybe a few glimpses of him here and there between day 2 and day 3. Well, most of the time in day 3. But it's around this time when he will truly shine. And more importantly, this will be the second time Edgeworth and Phoenix Wright will have to work together in order to actually bring a guilty person down. Remember Turnabout Samurai when we had to take down De Vasquez, because De Vasquez had the freaking Mafia on her side. Or should I say Yakuza, because of localization, but still. We will have to find the truth. Everything will go back to the SL9 incident, and the SL9 incident is what Gant is going to use to try to get away. Because that is basically what it all boils down to. Us uncovering the truth of that incident and putting an end to it, and also which will lead up to the reveal of who's the murderer of Bruce Goodman, who happened to be the detective of the SL9 incident. So on that note, it's time to go to court. And we will be here for the next 6 parts. Because I do believe the finale is going to be the credits, because goddamn is this whole entire last 3 segments long. This one's the shortest one, Trial Former, but I still have to split it up because it's going into the hour time limit, if not 50 minutes, so I still have to split it up. Y'all know how I do. And here he is, the jovial man himself. And the only time he always mentions if you've been swimming is if bad shit is about to happen. Now let me be honest with you. I would probably catch on to his mannerisms by now and pay attention if I wasn't so familiar of what's going to happen throughout this portion of the trial. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been alluding to it. There have been lots and lots of BS that I have tried to hint at, sprinkle in, mention, or whatever. This is that trial right here. So you have to be on your P's and Q's, but more importantly, have patience, because a certain part in this trial will definitely try that patience. Meanwhile, speaking of trying patience, Lana will pretty much try your patience the hardest, as she would most likely just throw away the right to an attorney and even confess charges. In other words, she practically admits again in front of the trial, hoping for a guilty verdict to end this trial, knowing Gant is manipulating her. This is why I said this was a near unwinnable case, because of what this woman is doing. But despite the fact of her even throwing out the right to have an attorney, we will turn this case around eventually. We will, because it's Phoenix Wright. He must bullshit his way out of this. So on that note, we're about to hit the guilty verdict, but unfortunately, we are going to have to renege that. For one reason and one reason only. While Phoenix can't do anything about her trying to admit guilty verdicts, and the judge is over here just ignoring his feelings, well, somebody else has something to say about that. That someone being Edgeworth. Edgeworth isn't too keen on the prosecution not being able to prove the witness guilty. Not to mention, it was his car and his career these two tried to ruin. So he's not going to take that lying down. Especially when Gant threatens to tell him to keep his mouth shut. That's something you don't say with a smile, by the way, folks. Anyway, it's time we once get ready. Because Gant is about to be in for the fight of his life. Because Edgeworth is not giving up without one himself. And seeing as how Edgeworth's past is being called into question. In fact, he went there and pulled a double blind. An absolute double blind. Instead of calling Lana to the scan, he's calling Emma! So on that note, if we want the truth, we will have to get it from Emma. So on that note, Lana will definitely not have any say in the matter since she revoked the right to testify anyway. And it seems that Chief Gant is actually going through with this. Although he did give him a warning that you'll live to regret this. That's something you don't say with a stern and stoic face. But whatever the case, we will be at least trying to find out what's going on with Emma. And Emma will testify on the stand under oath. As it stands, the whole SL9 incident was all about Emma almost being killed by Joe Dark. And Joe Dark had killed multiple people beforehand, and would have gotten away with it too had, well, he not been tried and found guilty for murdering, quote-unquote, Neil Marshall. Which begs the question, what exactly does Emma remembers? And with that said, seeing as how Edgeworth has a little bit more control of the judge than what Phoenix does, it's high time we find out what's going on and finally put it in to the SL9 incident, or at least any doubt behind it. For one, at least Jake Marshall will have some sort of closure. And the other, we'll at least try to find out exactly who it is that killed Neil Marshall. So as it stands right now, we are going to have to press the last statement right here. I think it was either 4th or 5th. Either one of those two. You have to press that statement in order for it to actually have a chance to reveal anything. So this actually does have something to do with Neil Goodman's... No, this has something to do with Bruce Goodman's murder, considering the fact that Neil Marshall's death was actually the last death of the SL9 incident. So on that note, I do believe it was the 4th statement right here. You press that, and she'll continue on, because the lights went out. And during that time, a thunderstorm happened, and the lights actually took the electricity out during the thunderstorm. However, the lightning happened right when the storm... lightning happened right when Joe Dark was about to stab Neil Marshall. But that also makes this case a little bit more confusing, because remember, early on in the beginning of this case, you saw 3D version. By the way, continue on. You saw the 3D. You saw a 3D model of Lana stabbing somebody, and it was during a lightning incident. So here's the thing: who was it she was stabbing? So ask about the picture. We'll worry about who she's stabbing later. Because it'll all come around and make sense. But for right now, Edgeworth had the evidence list, but he didn't know anything about it. So we're gonna have to present the evidence list and put it towards her newly added testimony. And here's the thing. The only reason why Edgeworth is saying that he didn't get the full evidence list was because of the fact that the evidence list was torn in half. And the reason why it was torn in half because Bruce Goodman went there and used it to try to get a composite sketch of the killer, which is right here. So, as it stands right now, we see a killer about to strike down an enemy. However, Edgeworth is still trying to ask, how in the world did he not get this list? They actually are two separate lists. You think there's two separate lists, but they're actually the same list. In fact, they have been cut in half. Well, they've been cut in half purposely by Goodman to try to make a composite sketch of the killer. But due to the fact that they were cut in half, Gant was able to hide one of them. Remember, he put it in his drawer back in the last part. And now it all makes sense. And as soon as Edgeworth flipped open the picture, I think it's safe to say there is actually something additional on that list. There is actually something on the list, and much to our dismay, it's going to be something that we are not going to like. Oh no, oh no. And neither will Edgeworth. Because he basically has a stroke looking at the back of the picture. And there is something on the back of the picture. It's the Blue Badger. Funny how that thing always comes up in a goddamn crime scene. Just this case alone. Well, the Blue Badger was supposed to be in the evidence room. However, that's not the case. Emma had drawn that because there was something that looked like the Badger that was in the vicinity. Because the Blue Badger didn't exist until now. And Emma is actually trying to reminisce what's going on. So we're going to have to continue on with the testimony. Alright. She is mentioning that the picture she drew was the flash of lightning, and she actually saw the shadows of Joe Dark and Neil Marshall before she fainted. But there was another picture she drew that she made before she fainted as well, and that was the Blue Badger, which, by the way, the only way she could see the Blue Badger was with it being, well, upside down, I guess. We'll worry about that. But here's the thing. We'll have to cross-examine her, and I do believe it is not that one, not that one, not that one, this one. We are gonna have to actually put the autopsy report against this picture, because how in the world did Niels die so quickly? I mean, actually didn't die quickly, but rather die from a stab wound from repeated stabbings, when in the autopsy he was actually ran through instead of actually stabbed repeatedly. So on that note, it's safe to say we still have an unsolved mystery. And now we're going to have to point out one last contradiction. And on this picture, you're going to have to point to what looks like the knife. And that's what you're going to do. Because, again, the autopsy report states that Keith Marshall was killed after the first blow. And there was no room for a repeated blow. And he had a hole in his chest. Or at least a hole in his back. And there was actually a tip found in the victim. So as it stands right now, we need to actually find this problem. But unfortunately, oh, sorry about that. It was around this time that Upload Studio started cutting off, so we're going to continue on with the next episode of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney in Part 50, which will finish off Final Day Trial Former. See you guys next time.